Now, what we have, guys, is sed 1 and sed 2. Express sed 1 over sed 2 in the following form. Now, what that means is put sed 1 in as 8 minus 2i, and then divide it by sed 2. Now, all this language here, what it means is the answer has to look something like this: 3 plus 5i, or it has to look like a minus a half plus 3 over 2i. It has to look something like this. Now, you might say, that's a bit random. What's the general trend there? The general trend is that there's never an I on the bottom anymore. There's never an I in the denominator position. That's the whole point of the technique, is to get rid of the I's on the bottom. So you see at the start of the question, you have one I here. You do not want that on the bottom anymore. To remove it from the bottom, there's a technique we use. Anybody remember it? You get the conjugate off the bottom. What's the conjugate off the bottom? Anybody remember the conjugate of the bottom number? 1 minus I. Whatever is in front of the I, if it's a plus, change it to a minus. If it's a minus, change it to a plus. So you're going to get 1 minus I, bracket 1 minus I. Is that alright, guys? Now 8 times 1, 8. 8 times I, minus 8i. Minus 2i times 1, minus 2i. Minus 2i times I, minus 2i squared. Plus 2i squared, good man. And then on the bottom, 1 times 1, 1. 1 times I, minus 1i. 1 times I, 1i. And then finally, I times minus I, minus I squared. Now, if you do this properly, guys, what happens every time? The middle part of the bottom will cancel out. So minus I plus 1i cancels. Now, guys, what is 2i squared? 2i squared is the same thing as 2 times minus 1, which is minus 2. Okay, so 8 minus 2. See the 8 and the 2? 8 minus 2? 6. Minus 8i minus 2i. Same thing as minus 8 minus 2. So what's minus 8 minus 2? Minus 10. So it's minus 10i. And then on the bottom, what's minus I squared? Minus bracket. What's I squared? Minus 1. Minus minus 1. Plus 1. So this here is a plus 1. 1 plus 1? 2. 6 minus 10i over 2. What have you noticed? There's no i's left on the bottom. That's the whole point. So divide 6 by 2. You get 3. Divide 10i by 2. 5i. And that's your answer. 3 minus 5i. Okay, 3 minus 5i. Okay, guys. Yes, question? Yes, Dennis. What it asked me to do is find out what U is. Find out what W is. W is U minus phi minus 2. So W equals U minus phi minus 2. Okay, what's U, guys? Okay, what's phi? Huh? 1 plus I. And then combine them all together. So it's 3 plus 2i. What effect does the minus have on the bracket? What does it do to what's inside the bracket? You change the sign, basically. So it was a minus 1, now it's a plus 1. It was a plus I, now it's a minus I, now it's a minus 2. David, how did you finish this off then? 3 plus 1? And then 4 minus 2? 2. 2i minus I? I. So W is 2 plus I. Okay? Now, that's very specific to this question. It's not done all the time. This question gave us specific instructions on how to find out what W is. It told us here exactly what we need to do to find out what W is. Okay? Now, in the next part, we found out what W is. The next part, it wants us to find out what 2U plus phi over W is. So the whole point of the question is 2U plus phi all over W. Now, I'm going to concentrate all my efforts on 2U plus phi at the very beginning. So what's 2 times U? 2 times U, everybody? 3 plus 2i plus phi plus minus 1 plus I. Now, 6 plus 4i, everybody happy with that? Minus 1 plus I. What's 6 minus 1? 6 minus 1, anybody? 5. And then 4i plus I, 5i. So, this 2u plus v business over here has now become 5 plus 5i. Which is alright, yeah? Now guys, what's the next part then? What do I change w into? It's the answer from the first part. 2 plus I. Now this is where I need everybody focused. This is the only way to get this done. Okay? So, the way you get this done is like this. You look at the bottom number, always the bottom number, and you get the conjugate. What is the conjugate of the bottom number? Sorry? Now 2 minus I. Okay, and then you multiply top and bottom by 2 minus I. Now, what the book might do, or what some other people might do, is they might separate it out into two different parts. They might write the top part separately, and they'll multiply the top part out on its own, and then they'll go down the bottom, and they'll write down the bottom part on its own, and then what they'll do is they'll combine both answers together. But it's still actually the same thing. It just looks different, but it's actually the same thing. So, what we're going to do here, guys, is we're just going to multiply it out using the lines. 5 times 2, 5 times minus 1, 10 minus 5i, and then 5i times 2, 10i, and then 5i times I. Good man. Then on the bottom, 2 times 2, 4, 2 times minus I, and then I times 2, and then I times minus I. Minus I squared. Now, what happens next, guys? What happens to the minus 5i squared? Minus 5 times minus 1, which is plus 5. And what about minus I squared on the bottom? Minus minus 1, which is plus 1. Combine both answers together. 10 plus 5, 15. Minus 5i plus 10i, plus 5i, and then on the bottom the 2i's cancel. 4 plus 1, 5. 15 divided by 5, 5i divided by 5, 3 plus I. How many people got 3 plus I out for 15 last night? Okay, good for you. Well done. Okay, 16. One of the ones I didn't do. Now, this one's tough, okay? So, u is 2 minus I, and then 5 over u is u is 2 minus I. Can anybody make a suggestion what would be a good idea here? Or even before we begin, what would be a good idea? We can do this. We can attack this two ways. See the way there's two different denominators. What would be a really good idea? Everybody focusing on this. What would be a really good idea at the very beginning is to do this. U plus 5 over u. You don't like things with different denominators, so you go u on the bottom, u on top, and then the other u on top makes it a u squared. Would you agree with that? Makes the whole thing u squared plus 5 all over u. Is that alright? It's a little trick. Now you only have one denominator. The denominator on the bottom is u. So what we're going to do instead of that is we'll do 2 minus I squared plus 5. Yeah, and then get the conjugate. Is that what you're thinking? Then plus it on and get your answer. Yeah, you can do it that way as well. I'll probably do it that way, will I? Yeah, okay, sorry. Sorry, I was asked to go back to the original. You could do it that way. You get 2 minus I plus 5 over 2 minus I. Now what Paddy rightly did was he said, look, I don't want to learn anything new here. I'm just going to concentrate on the part that I did already. So what's the conjugate top and bottom, guys? What's the conjugate of the denominator? 2 plus I and 2 plus I. Multiply it out. 10 plus 5i. And on the bottom, 4 plus 2i minus 2i minus I squared. Now what happens to the 2 and the plus and the minus 2? Cancel. What's minus I squared again? Minus minus 1, which is plus 1. What's 4 plus 1? 5. So it's 10 plus 5i all over 5, which is going to be, sorry, 2 plus I. So what Paddy did was a good move. Rid of that. And 2 plus I. Add them together and what happens? 4. So the answer for this is 4. This whole thing is just the number 4. Makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? Now, what does it mean for the second part then, Paddy? Sub the 4 in for u plus 5 over u. Yes? You what? 4 plus 1? Yeah, it was 5. Okay. And it was 10 plus 5i all over 5. Which turned into 2 plus I. Yeah. The 2 plus I is, see the 5 over u, Sean? The 5 over u is that answer there. The 2 plus I is the 5 over u. Okay, but then you forgot about the u that's getting added onto it. The u that's getting added, see this, the u is 2 minus I, and then the 5 over u is the 2 plus I. And then when we combine both answers together, we get 4. Okay, so what happens next, guys, is this here is 4. So what, k times 4? 4k equals 24 divided by 4. K equals 6. Okay, so look guys, that's 15 and 16.